Kim, are you pleased with the Voyeur album, and have you done anything different this time?
Fortunately, yes, I can say I'm real pleased with it. Usually, well, this is my 7th album, and in the other 6, somehow we'd always end up with one track that shouldn't have been there, and I'd always try to hide it somewhere on side 2, which is impossible to think that there's a place you can bury a track that people won't hear it. And this is the first album I've ever done that I didn't have that problem. We had the luxury of throwing out 5 tracks and not putting anything on this album that we weren't totally happy with. So I didn't have to bury anything cut for side 2.
Kim, as everybody knows, Mistaken Identity was a huge success, as was the single from that album, Betty Davis Eyes. Did you feel any pressure with this album to top the success of that?
We really didn't. The only pressure that was there is the pressure that always exists before going in to cut an album, no matter what's come before it. Fortunately, we went in with a huge amount of confidence because of the success of Betty Davis. We had toured all last summer, and those were the first songs that were written for this album. Were written during the tour. We were able to perform them live, and from that point on, we could hardly wait to get in the studio and start the new album. We knew exactly what direction it was going to take, and everyone was very anxious to put this album out because we knew with the material and the confidence we had that it would be better than the last album.
This is the 3rd album in a row now that you've teamed up with Val Garay, your producer. What is it about Val's contribution that's important to you and to your work?
Val is not only a great engineer, but he also, as a producer, comes from the musical end of it. He was in a band and he wrote songs and plays instruments, and so many times producers either are one or the other, but Val really combines the technical plus the musical abilities, and he can get any sound that we think of or want to come up with. I don't know how many producers could record a band the size of mine live like Val does, and also pay attention to my vocal to get it at the time. He's really good at that. He's great at if I bring in a song, coming up with structural ideas and arrangements, and he's just kind of the coordinator. He listens to everybody's ideas, and that's the only way I could make an album. It's critical that the band, that everybody has a lot of input, and that we try anybody's ideas. You know, we don't waste time, but it's important for nobody to feel inhibited.
How long did it take to record the Voyeur album, Kim, and how did you go about it this time?
We started the album the 1st of March, however not in the studio. Because we record live, we usually try to rehearse 5 tracks to begin with. We did that the first couple weeks in March, then went into the studio, sit back for a couple weeks and kind of listen to what we've done, then go rehearse 5 more, go in and record them. And this way, we might spend 3 days working on one song in rehearsal to find the way we want to record it, but once we have it, we're able to go in the studio and put it down in a take or two, and there's our record, since there's no overdubbing. In the end, for me, it's a much better way to record. It's the closest way we can get that spontaneity that you have in a live performance, you know, especially for me doing a vocal. I get turned on by the musicians playing at the same time, and it's the same for them. Hearing me sing, it just makes a huge difference, and Val's able to capture that.
What musical and other influences have had an impact on your past and recent work, specifically on this album?
Influences over the past year, I guess, have been strongly a lot of the English product that has come from daily watching of Russell Mulcahy, who directs all my videos. His demo video reels, his groups, Ultravox, Spandau Ballet, Classics Nouveau. I can go way back to Alan Parsons, especially the I, Robot album, in first being interested in and passionate about the use of synthesizers. I used to fight people with using synthesized strings as opposed to real strings. I think people were afraid that they were going to replace strings. It's just like using the computer drum machine right now. I think 5 of the tracks on the album are that. And electronic instruments that come in aren't meant to replace the drums or strings, but only be another way to go, to just give you more of a choice, but not to replace. And people shouldn't be threatened by them.
What musicians worked with you on this album? Any new additions to the band since the Mistaken Identity record?
Yes, basically the same people. Craig Cramp on drums, who's been with me, three albums and 3 tours now. Bill Como on keyboard, who has been with me from my very first album. Steve Goldstein on keyboards. Waddy Wattel playing guitar. Josh Leo, Craig Hall. We added on this album, Dwayne Hitchings played keyboards on the 3 cuts that we wrote together, Voyeur, Merkman, and Undertow. Dwayne's great, and since he wrote the music and is an incredible keyboard player, it just made sense to add him to the band and on those particular cuts.
I understand Martha Davis from the Motels sings with you on one of the cuts. Which cut is that, and how did that collaboration come about?
Yeah, Martha came in and sang on the arrangement. I'm a great fan of hers, first of all. I have been for years. I think she is, as female singers go, just about the best. We live close to each other and are good pals, so it was real special that she happened to be in between tours and she could come in and sing on it.
How did the song Thrill of the Grill come about?
Thrill of the Grill was the first song written for this album. I wrote it while we were on tour last summer, which was great because we were able to put it right in the show and perform it live. And it was one of our favorites. I guess one reason because it was new, but it's, I think, a real visual song. And planning this whole album being written to eventually do a video, I think lyrically it's there's a story and it's kind of a visual song that was fun to do.
Got a really unique sound on the song Merkman. Did you try some different studio experiments to achieve this?
When we went into the studio with Merkman, I knew the kind of sound I wanted on the vocals, and tried to describe it to Val. The word came out kind of metallic, and he's a master at that. 10 minutes later, he fiddled around with all the knobs and played back the sound that he had put on the vocals, and that's exactly what we were all looking for.
The song Say You Don't Know Me from this album actually first appeared or premiered on national TV last year. What's the story behind that song?
Say You Don't Know Me was the first song recorded for this album. It was last December, and it was recorded for a Rod Stewart special. We went into the studio at noon, recorded the song live, and then Russell Mulcahy, who is my video director, came in, and we shot the video right afterwards till 4 or 5 in the morning. In fact, I had about 150 people at my house for a Christmas party that I never showed up for. They had a good time. So did I, doing my video. But we really didn't intend that track to be on the album, and we're so pleased with the way it came out that we had our first track recorded.
The song and the video, Voyeur, have attracted a lot of notoriety. How was that song conceived?
Craig Cramp, my drummer, brought me a tape of 5 or 6 melodies that a friend of his, Dwayne Hitchings, had written, and I was in the middle of a time when I was getting zillions of songs a day to listen to, and when I put on Dwayne's tape, the first melody ended up being Voyeur, and what a treat it was to hear something that I immediately loved the first time through. I ended up putting on the cassette nearly every day, and maybe a month later, Dave and I wrote lyrics for it. And once we had the idea, to write a song called Voyeur. I think the lyrics came quickly, maybe a day or two, but the melody laid around for a good month.
What's the importance of video to your musical creativity?
Every song was written to eventually be up on the screen. My idea was for Russell to direct a full-length video, and I still really hope that that can work. From the very first song, I pictured what was going on up there on the screen, and I think it really helps with your writing. It makes your writing more visual, and I think for me was a big bonus.
How did you get involved with video in the first place, Kim, and how big a part does it play in your current work, and how much of a part will it play in the future?
I am passionate about video. I think video is going to become more and more important in the music business. My first video I did was of More Love with Michael Nesmith, who was a pioneer of videos. And after our weekend we spent up at his studio in Carmel, just discussing video and the possibilities and the future of it, Michael said, now that you get it, now that you're into video, it will change the way you write, it'll change the way you arrange songs, and he was right. It really changed the entire approach I had to recording and writing, and there is already a lot of evidence that in the cities where MTV is running, that it's helping record sales, and again, people are hesitant to believe that it's going to be important and mean a lot to music. I think they're afraid. I've heard people say they're afraid that it might replace live performances. I don't think that'll ever happen, because it's entirely different. Video is one thing, and it can't ever replace what an artist gets from performing live or what the audience gets from going to see something live. But I think there's a big future in it. I myself would like to get to the point where I would always write an album with video in mind, record it, and the next step would be to put the whole album up on the screen, and come up with ways so that songs aren't taken literally to the screen. There are separate little stories the music has to fit with, but I'm real lucky. My director, Russell Mulcahy, is a master, and I'm in good hands with Russell. He's a great inspiration to me.
Do you still get a kick when you hear one of your songs on the radio?
Yeah, I always get a tremendous buzz whenever I hear a song on the radio. That's a feeling that you could never get tired of in a zillion years. It's the best.
Critics reacted immediately to the Betty Davis Eyes video, and some of these same critics have said that Voyeur goes a step further. What exactly were you after in making the Voyeur video?
First of all, Voyeur was done on film as opposed to videotape. What we were going after was a Hitchcock-type murder mystery. The trick was how to tell a whole little story in 4 minutes. Again, Russell is a master at making little mini movies. And in the video, I basically play the part of the voyeur. I witness a murder that has taken place up in an apartment building and am then chased by the killer for the rest of the video. We shot it in downtown LA, down on Main Street, from 3 in the afternoon till 5 in the morning. And in watching the video back, I think Russell really captured the feeling of that location and what was going on that night. Using film instead of videotape, I think adds a depth and a realism. If you're going after a little mini movie, I think it's real important that it be film. The Say You Don't Know Me video was done in the studio, and it's videotape because it's more of a live performance. But Russell always bends the color and bends things so they never quite look, never looks like flat videotape.
Do you enjoy interpreting other people's songs?
I'll always do a couple of outside songs. I think it's important to round out the album. My greatest joy is when I've written the song and can record it. That's the most honest, and for me that's the best. But it's real neat to find a song that excites me enough to want to go in and see what we can do with it. And I'll always do some outside material.
Kim, what are your plans for the future?
I know we'll record one, but what it'll be, I don't have any idea right now. I don't know.